Day stood in the middle of the negotiation room and felt very small. This was normal for him. Most days, he was the smallest person in any room. But today, surrounded by the massive Valkyrie traders, he felt like a child among giants. The Valkyrie looked like a mix between elephants and rhinoceros. They stood over 3 meters tall. Their skin was thick and gray, covered in natural armor plates. When they moved, the floor vibrated. When they spoke, the air seemed to shake. Bractham, the lead trade master, looked down at Day. His small eyes studied the human with something that looked like amusement. "So," he said, his voice deep and rumbling, "Earth sends us this? A tiny soft skin to negotiate shipping contracts?" The other Valkyrie in the room made sounds that Day realized were laughter. It sounded like rocks grinding together. "I have 3 years of experience in cargo transport," Day said, keeping his voice steady. "My delivery record is perfect. I've never lost a shipment." "Never lost a shipment," Bractham repeated, then laughed harder. "Little prey child, you have worked for 3 years. I have worked for 30. Most species in this room have been in business since before your grandfather was born. That doesn't change my record," Day said. Another Valkyrie leaned forward. "Tell me, human, what is the gravity on your homeworld, Earth?" "Standard gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared." The Valkyrie exchanged looks. "High gravity world," one muttered. "No wonder they are so dense and compact." "Dense and weak," Bractham corrected. "Look at him. He probably weighs less than my left foot." He turned back to Day. "We Valkyrie are herbivores, peaceful beings. But even we would not hire something so fragile. You understand? In space, cargo shifts. Containers fall. Pirates attack. We need beings who can handle problems. Not prey animals who will run at the first sign of danger." They felt his jaw tighten. He wanted to argue. He wanted to tell them that humans were tougher than they looked. But he had no proof. Earth had only joined the galactic community 5 years ago. Humans had no reputation out here. They were the new species. The unknown quantity. The joke. "Thank you for your time," Day said quietly. He turned and walked out. Behind him, he heard more of that grinding laughter. The corridor outside was busy with traders and workers from dozens of species. Most of them were larger than Day. He walked through the crowd, dodging around beings who did not bother to move for him. "Day!" He turned and saw Yunhana hurrying toward him. She was one of the few other humans on Trading Station Epsilon 7. She worked as an administrator, handling paperwork and schedules. Like Day, she was short compared to most galactic species. Unlike Day, she had learned to smile through the casual disrespect. "I heard the meeting didn't go well," she said. "They laughed at me," Day said. "Called me a prey child." Hannah sighed. "I'm sorry. But Day, this is how it is for us right now. We're new. We're small. We have to prove ourselves." "How?" Day asked, frustration creeping into his voice. "If no one will hire us, how do we prove anything?" Hannah bit her lip. She looked uncomfortable. "There is one contract available. But Day, I don't think you should take it. Tell me." "It's a salvage mission. A ship called the Star of Ondor went dark in the Crimson Nebula 3 weeks ago. The owners want the cargo retrieved. They're offering good money because it's in the Crimson Nebula." They knew about the Crimson Nebula. Everyone in this sector knew about it. The nebula was filled with spatial anomalies. Navigation was nearly impossible. Ships that went in sometimes did not come out. Most species avoided it entirely. "Why hasn't anyone taken the contract?" They asked. "Because it's dangerous," Hannah said, "and probably pointless. If the ship went dark 3 weeks ago, the crew is likely dead. But if you did recover the cargo, She trailed off. I could prove that humans can handle difficult jobs, they finished. Or you could die, Hannah said. You don't have to prove anything to these people. But Day was already pulling up the contract on his datapad. The payment was substantial. Enough to keep his small cargo ship running for 6 months. Enough to make a name for himself. Enough to show beings like Bractham that they were wrong about humans. I'll take it, he said. Hannah looked worried but nodded. I'll send you the coordinates. Please, be careful. 2 hours later, Day sat in the pilot's chair of his ship, the Wanderer. It was not a fancy vessel, just a small cargo hauler with basic life support and navigation systems. But it was his. Kehoe, he said to the ship's AI. Plot a course for the Crimson Nebula. Plotting course, the AI responded in its calm male voice. Warning, the Crimson Nebula contains significant navigational hazards. Recommend alternate route. There is no alternate route. The Star of Andor is inside the nebula. Understood. May I ask why we are attempting this clearly dangerous mission? Day thought about the laughter in the negotiation room. The casual dismissal. The way Bractham had called him a prey child. Because someone has to, he said. The Wanderer left the station and jumped into faster-than-light travel. 3 hours later, they dropped out at the edge of the Crimson Nebula. Through the view screen, they could see clouds of red and orange gas. Lightning flickered between dust clouds. His sensors showed multiple gravity wells appearing and disappearing randomly. The nebula looked beautiful and deadly. Beginning careful approach, Kehoe said. Sensors are having difficulty penetrating the interference. I am adjusting our course every 3 seconds to avoid gravity fluctuations. Day watched his instruments carefully. He had learned to fly by instinct as much as by instruments. Sometimes, when the sensors could not be trusted, a pilot's gut feeling was the best navigation tool. Left, he said suddenly. Adjust course 10 degrees left. Sensors show no hazard in current path, Kehoe said. Trust me. Go left. The AI adjusted course. 2 seconds later, a gravity well opened exactly where they would have been. Interesting, Kehoe said. How did you know? I saw the pattern in how the wells were forming, they said. But that was not quite true. He had not seen it. He had felt it. Some part of his brain had recognized something wrong and alerted him. They continued deeper into the nebula. They guided the ship through a maze of hazards, sometimes following his instruments, sometimes following his instincts. Kehoe stopped questioning his sudden course changes. After 6 hours of careful navigation, they found the Star of Andor. The ship hung in space, dark and silent. It was much larger than the Wanderer, a merchant vessel designed to carry massive amounts of cargo. Hull lights were off. Engines were cold. No signals were transmitting. Scanning for life signs, Kehoe said. There was a pause. I'm detecting life signs. At least 5 separate beings are still alive on that ship. They sat forward. They survived for 3 weeks? It appears so. However, there is something else. I am detecting movement in multiple sections of the ship. The patterns are unusual. What kind of unusual? The movements do not match any known species in my database. And whatever is moving in there are many of them. They stared at the dark ship. Survivors trapped for 3 weeks with something unknown hunting them in the corridors. He should call for help. He should return to the station and report this. But help would take days to arrive. And the survivors might not have days. Prep the airlock, they said. I'm going in. The airlock hissed open, and Day stepped onto the Star of Andor. His suit lights cut through the darkness. The ship's gravity was still working, but barely. He felt lighter than normal as he moved down the corridor. Life signs are concentrated in Section 7. Kehoe said through his helmet radio. That's the main cargo bay. However, I am detecting those unknown movements between you and that location. Understood, Day said quietly. He pulled out his plasma cutter. It was a tool, not a weapon, but it could hurt something if needed. The corridor was a mess. Storage containers had fallen and broken open. Goods were scattered everywhere. But what caught Day's attention were the marks on the walls. Long scratches in the metal, like something with claws had dragged itself along. Some of the marks went up the walls and across the ceiling. Kehoe, are you seeing these marks? Yes, the depth and width suggest something with significant strength made them. Day bent down to look at a darker stain on the floor. It was not oil or fuel. It looked organic. He did not touch it. He moved forward carefully, checking each intersection before crossing. The ship was silent, except for his breathing and the soft hum of life support systems struggling to function. Then he heard it. A clicking sound. Faint, coming from somewhere ahead. Click dash click dash click dash click. It echoed through the empty corridors. Day froze and listened. The clicking stopped. He waited for a full minute, not moving. When no other sounds came, he continued forward. Section 7's door was sealed, but not locked. Day opened it manually and slipped inside. The cargo bay was enormous. Containers were stacked high, creating a maze of metal walls. Emergency lights gave everything a dim red glow. Hello? Day called out. For a moment, nothing. Then a voice, deep and frightened, answered in Galactic Standard language. Who is there? Identify yourself. My name is Kang Day. I'm from Trading Station Epsilon 7. I'm here to help. A rescue? The voice sounded desperate with hope. Praise the ancestors. We are here. Behind the blue containers. Day moved through the maze of containers. He found them huddled in a cleared space. 3 Valkyrie traders and 2 insectoid beings he recognized as Chithari. They looked terrible. Their clothes were torn. They had makeshift weapons made from broken pieces of the ship. They looked like they had not slept in days. One of the Valkyrie, a female, stared at Day. You? They sent one tiny human? I'm what you've got, Day said. How long have you been trapped here? 6 days. One of the Chithari clicked in response. 6 days since the attack. We were 10. Now we are 5. What attacked you? The Valkyrie male, who had first spoken, looked at Day with wide, terrified eyes. We don't know what they are. They came through the walls. Big. Fast. They hunt us. We hide here because this is the only space we can defend. But we cannot leave. Every time we try, he stopped, unable to continue. They pick us off one by one. The Chithari finished. They looked around their defensive position. It was not bad, considering what they had to work with. They had blocked most approaches with containers. But there were gaps. Too many gaps. Have you tried to contact anyone? They asked. Communications are down, the female Valkyrie said. Everything is down. We have emergency power only. A sound echoed through the cargo bay. That clicking again, but louder, closer. Everyone froze. The survivors pressed back against the containers, their weapons raised. They looked terrified. The clicking stopped. They know we're here, the Chithari whispered. They always know. They moved to one of the gaps in their defensive circle. He looked out into the darkness of the cargo bay. His suit lights could not reach far. Something moved out there. Just a shadow. But it was big. How many are there? They asked quietly. We think 3, the male Valkyrie said. Maybe 4. They studied the gap. The containers formed a natural choke point. Anything coming through would have to squeeze between narrow spaces. That was good. That could be used. Do you have any weapons besides those? He pointed at their makeshift clubs and sharp pieces of metal. "There are emergency flare guns in the lockers near the main entrance," one of the Chithri said. "But we cannot reach them. Too far. Too exposed." They thought quickly. Flare guns were not designed as weapons, but they could work. They burned very hot and very bright. Against something that hunted in darkness, they might be effective. "I'll get them," they said. "What?" "No." The female Valkyrie grabbed his arm. Despite her exhaustion, she was still much stronger than him. "You will die. These creatures are fast. Faster than anything natural." "Then I'll have to be smarter," they said. He gently pulled his arm free. "Stay here. Defend this position. If something comes, make noise. Lots of noise." Before they could argue more, they moved back into the maze of containers. He turned off his suit lights. Darkness swallowed him completely. He stood still and listened. The ship had sounds. Every ship did. Metal expanding and contracting. Systems humming. Air moving through vents. These were normal sounds. They filtered them out and listened for the abnormal. There, a scraping sound. Something dragging across metal. It came from his left, maybe 20 meters away. They moved right, slowly, feeling his way along the containers. He used his hands to guide him, not his lights. Light would give away his position. Another sound. Closer. That clicking. It was almost like communication. Like one of these things was telling the others where to go. Day's heart was beating fast, but his breathing stayed calm. He had felt this before. Not in space, but back on Earth. When he was young, hunting in the mountains with his grandfather. The feeling of being both hunter and hunted. The need to stay calm and think clearly. He reached the lockers and carefully opened one. His hands found the flare guns. 3 of them. He grabbed them all, stuffing 2 in his belt and keeping one ready. A shadow moved above him. On top of the containers, Day dropped flat and rolled as something came down where he had been standing. It hit the floor hard, denting the metal. In the brief flash of emergency light, they saw it. The creature was all wrong. Too many joints in its limbs. A body that seemed to be covered in black plates that shifted and clicked together. A head that was mostly mouth, filled with rows of teeth. Eyes that glowed faint red in the darkness. It turned toward Day, fast. So fast. Day fired the flare gun. The flare hit the creature's center mass and ignited. White-hot magnesium burned at 3,000 degrees. The creature made a sound that was part scream, part hiss. It scrambled away, burning, crashing into containers. Day ran. He heard clicking all around him now. More of them. At least 2 more. They were converging on his position. He sprinted through the maze, taking turns randomly, trying to lose them. But they were fast. He could hear them behind him, getting closer. Their claws scraped against the metal floor. Click, 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 click. They reached the defensive position and dove through a gap. "Get ready," he shouted. The survivors raised their weapons. One of the creatures came through the gap right behind Day. The male Valkyrie swung a heavy piece of metal pipe and caught it across the head. The creature staggered. Day fired another flare. This one caught the creature's leg. It retreated, screaming. Another came from a different direction. The Chithri stabbed at it with sharpened metal. They worked together, forcing it back. For several minutes, the creatures tested their defenses, probing for weaknesses. Each time, the survivors fought them off. Finally, the creatures withdrew. The clicking sounds faded into the distance. Everyone was breathing hard. The female Valkyrie looked at Day with new eyes. "You ran toward them," she said. "Not away. Toward them. I needed the flare guns," Day said simply. "But you ran toward them," she repeated, like she could not quite believe it. The male Valkyrie sat down heavily. "What are you?" he asked Day. "What kind of being sees a predator and runs at it?" Day checked his remaining flare gun. "The dead kind that wants to survive," he said. 2 hours passed. The creatures did not attack again, but everyone could hear them out in the darkness, moving, waiting, planning. Day had organized the survivors into shifts. 2 watched while 3 rested. He used the time to reinforce their defenses, stacking more containers to close gaps. He also studied the creatures' attack patterns. "They're testing us," he told the others. "Each attack comes from a different direction. They're learning which approaches work and which don't." "How do you know this?" the female Valkyrie asked. Her name was Trika. "It's what I would do," they said. "If I was hunting something, I would learn its defenses before making a real attack." "You think like a predator," Trika said. It was not an insult this time. It was an observation. "So do they." They pointed into the darkness. "That's why we need to think smarter." He explained his plan. When the creatures attacked again, they would not just defend. They would counterattack. They would lead a small group out to flank the creatures while they focused on the main defensive position. "That's suicide," one of the Chithari said. "Maybe," they agreed. "But if we just sit here, they'll eventually wear us down. We need to take the fight to them." Before anyone could argue more, the creatures came, all of them at once. 3 of the black-plated monsters rushed their position from different directions. This was the real attack. No more testing. The defenders shouted and struck at the creatures. Day fired his last flare, hitting one creature in the face. It shrieked and fell back. But the other 2 kept coming. They were about to be overrun when the cargo bay suddenly filled with light. Bright white light that made everyone shield their eyes. A voice boomed over loudspeakers, speaking Galactic Standard in a deep, growling tone. "Stand down. Korthan warriors boarding." The creatures hissed and retreated from the light. They moved with incredible speed, disappearing into the shadows between containers. They heard new sounds. Heavy footsteps. Many of them. And then he saw them. The Korthan were massive. Each one stood nearly 3 meters tall. They looked like someone had mixed a crocodile with a bear and then covered it in dark scales. They wore armor that seemed almost decorative because their natural bodies were already so heavily plated. They moved with a predator's grace despite their size. Leading them was the largest Korthan Day had ever seen. His scales were scarred from many battles. One eye had a long scar running through it. He carried a weapon that looked like a spear and an energy rifle combined. "I am Commander Throck," the Korthan said, his voice deep enough to vibrate in Day's chest. "We have been tracking the scroll for 2 weeks. We detected their presence on this vessel." His eyes scanned the survivors, then stopped on Day. "You held them off? How many warriors do you have?" "Just me," they said. "And the survivors." Throke's head tilted slightly. He stepped closer to Day, studying him. "Just you? These are herbivores and scavengers. Not fighters. But you held the scroll?" "We didn't hold them," they said. "We survived them. There's a difference." A female human stepped forward from behind the Korthan warriors. She wore a Korthan uniform with human rank insignia. "Commander, this is one of my people. Humans. We're from Earth." "Nam Sora," they said, recognizing her uniform. She was part of the cultural exchange program. Humans and Korthan had been trading knowledge for the past year. "Kang Day," Sora said, reading his suit's ID tag. "You're a long way from any human settlement." "Salvage job," they said. "Found survivors instead." Throck made a rumbling sound that might have been laughter. "A salvage worker. Not a soldier. And you fought Skrull." He looked at Sora. "Your species continues to surprise me." Before Sora could respond, The clicking sound started again, louder, coming from multiple directions. "They're surrounding us," one of the Korthan warriors said. "Good," Throck said. He turned to his warriors. "Combat Formation Theta. Drive them towards Section 4. We will trap them there." He looked at Day. "You, human, stay with the others. This is warrior work." But Day was already checking his plasma cutter. "With respect, Commander, I've been fighting these things for hours." "I know how they move." Throke's scarred eyes studied Day. "You wish to join the hunt?" "I wish to finish what I started." The Korthan warriors made low rumbling sounds. Throke's mouth opened, showing rows of sharp teeth. It was a smile. "Very well, small one. Try to keep up." The Korthan moved out in formation, spreading through the cargo bay. Day followed Throck, moving quickly to match the larger being's pace. Sora stayed close to both of them. The Skrull attacked fast. They came from above, dropping from the tops of containers. But the Korthan were ready. They moved as a unit, each warrior covering another's blind spot. Their weapons fired energy bursts that burned through the Skrull's armor plating. They saw one Skrull circling around behind Throck. He shouted a warning and fired his plasma cutter. The beam caught the creature's leg, making it stumble. Throck spun and drove his spear through the Skrull's center mass. "Good eyes," Throck said. They fought through the cargo bay, slowly driving the Skrull towards Section 4 as planned. They noticed how the Korthan fought. They did not just use strength. They used coordination, timing. They worked together like a pack. He found himself falling into their rhythm. When Throck moved left, Day moved right. When a warrior charged, Day covered the approach. It felt natural, like he had always fought this way. One of the Skrull broke from the group and rushed directly at Day. He was smaller, slower, an easy target. The creature's jaws opened wide as it leaped. Day did not run. He did not freeze. He stepped into the attack, dropping low and cutting upward with his plasma cutter. The beam sliced through the Skrull's throat. The creature crashed past him, already dead. When he looked up, all the Korthan were staring at him. Throke's expression was unreadable. "You did not flinch," the commander said. "No point," they said. "Flinching just gets you killed slower." Throck moved toward Day. For a moment, Day thought he had done something wrong. The massive Korthan towered over him. Then Throck lowered his head and pressed his forehead against Day's helmet. "Little brother," Throck said quietly. The other Korthan warriors slammed their weapons against their armor in a rhythmic pattern. The sound echoed through the cargo bay. It was clearly some kind of ceremony. Sora was smiling. "Day, do you understand what just happened?" "Not really," they admitted. "The Korthan have searched for equals for centuries," Sora explained. "They're the apex predators of this entire sector. No other species fights like they do. No other species understands the hunt the way they do." She looked at Throck. "Until now." Throck stepped back. "Your species is small, weak-looking, soft." He showed his teeth again. "But you have the heart of a hunter. You think like we think. Fight like we fight. You do not give up, even when the odds are against you." He raised his voice so all his warriors could hear. "The humans are pack. They are kin." The warriors responded with a deafening battle cry. Trika and the other survivors watched in shock. The female Valkyrie approached Day slowly. I apologize," she said. "We called you prey. We were wrong." Day was about to respond when Kiho's voice came through his helmet. "Day, I am detecting a Korthan warship taking position outside. They're offering to escort everyone back to the trading station." Throck nodded. "We will bring you all to safety. And you, little brother," he said to Day, "will come with us. We have much to discuss about your people." As they prepared to leave the Star of Andor, Day looked back at the cargo bay. Hours ago, he had come here alone, expecting to find cargo. Instead, he had found something more valuable. He had found respect. And maybe he had found a place where humans truly belonged. The galaxy was about to learn what the Korthan already knew. Humans were not prey. They were predators. And predators did not give up. The docking bay of Trading Station Epsilon 7 was crowded. It was always crowded, but today was different. Today, everyone had come to see something unusual. A human walking beside Korthan warriors as an equal. Day stepped off the Korthan ship with Commander Throck on his right and Sora on his left. Behind them came 3 Korthan warriors. The crowd parted immediately. Most species gave the Korthan a wide path out of respect. Some gave them space out of fear. HumanThen pushed through the crowd. Her eyes went wide when she saw Day. "You're alive." I was so worried. The ship went silent for 12 hours and I thought. She stopped, noticing Throck. "Oh, Hana, this is Commander Throck of the Korthan Empire." "Commander, this is HumanThen. She's the one who gave me the contract." Throck studied Hana with the same intense look he had given Day. "You are also human. Also small. Also," he seemed to search for a word. "Fierce?" Hannah laughed nervously. "I work in administration. I'm not fierce." "All humans are fierce," Throck said. "They simply express it differently. This one," he gestured to Day, "expresses it in battle. Perhaps you express it in other ways." Hannah did not know how to respond to that. She looked at Day with questions in her eyes. "It's a long story," Day said. "But basically, the Korthan think we're predators like them." "We do not think it," Throck corrected. "We know it. We have seen proof." Behind them, Trika and the other Valkyrie survivors were being escorted off the ship. Station medical teams rushed forward to help them. Trika stopped and called out to Day. "Thank you, Kande. You saved our lives." "We will not forget." People in the crowd heard this. A Valkyrie thanking a human? That was news. Someone in the crowd had a recording device. They had been filming since the moment the Korthan ship docked. The video showed Day walking calmly beside the massive predators. It showed Throck treating him with obvious respect. It showed the Valkyrie thanking him. Within an hour, that video was spreading across the galactic network. Within 3 hours, it had been viewed 10 million times. Within 6 hours. News agencies from every major species were requesting interviews. Day sat in Hana's office, watching the chaos unfold on her computer screens. "This is crazy," he said. "This is historic," Hana corrected. She pulled up another screen. "Look at this." Scientists are posting analysis of human evolution. They're comparing us to other apex predators. There are dozens of articles about Earth as a death world. "Earth is not a death world," they said. "Actually, it kind of is," Sora said from where she leaned against the wall. "I've been living with the Korthan for 6 months. I've seen their homeworld. Their planet is classified as high danger. Earth has higher gravity, more aggressive weather patterns, and more predatory species. By Korthan standards, Earth is extreme. But we evolved there," they said. "It's normal to us." "Exactly," Sora said. "That's what makes it so interesting to everyone else. We think our planet is normal because it's all we've ever known. But we evolved to survive in conditions that most species would find deadly." She pulled up another screen. "Look at this article. It's titled, 'The Endurance Predators: Why Humans Never Stop.' It talks about how our ancestors hunted by chasing animals until they collapsed from exhaustion." Day read the article. It explained persistence hunting, how humans could run for hours, even in the heat, because of their ability to sweat and cool themselves. How early humans would track an animal all day, never letting it rest until it was too tired to run anymore. No other species hunted this way. It was uniquely human. I never thought of it as special, they said. It's just how we are. Hannah's computer beeped. She opened a new message and her eyes went wide. This is from Bractum, the Valkyrie trade master. The one who laughed at you. Day felt his stomach tighten. What does he want? Hannah read the message. He's apologizing. He's offering you premium shipping contracts. He's asking if you would be willing to speak at a conference about human-Valkyrie trade relations. She looked up. He's offering you everything you wanted 3 days ago. Because now I'm famous, they said quietly. No, Throck said from the doorway. None of them had heard him approach. Because now you have proven yourself. Among my people, respect is earned through action. You have taken action. You have proven that humans are strong. Now others see what I saw. Park Yuna entered behind Throck. She was a human diplomat, one of the few stationed this far from Earth. Excuse me, Commander. Day, I need to speak with you. This situation has escalated. They moved to a private conference room. Yuna brought up a holographic display showing the galactic news networks. Every major channel was covering the story. Humanity of Earth, the hidden apex predators. One headline read, Korthan Empire recognizes. Humans as equals, said another. What does this mean for galactic politics? Asked a third. The Earth government is getting calls from every major species, Yuna explained. Everyone wants to know more about humans. Trade agreements, defense pacts, cultural exchanges. What you did on that ship has changed everything for our species. I just tried to survive, they said. You did more than survive, Yuna said. You proved that humans belong in the galactic community. For 5 years, we've been seen as newcomers, weak, unimportant. Today, that changed. Throck rumbled in agreement. The weak do not fight Skrull. The weak do not stand beside Korthan warriors in battle. Your people are strong. Different than us, but strong in your own ways. Over the next few days, the changes became obvious. Humans walking through the station were treated differently. No one ignored them anymore. No one laughed. Other species moved aside respectfully. Some even greeted them. The shipping contracts that had been denied today were now offered to any human pilot. Companies wanted to hire humans specifically. They had seen the persistence, the problem-solving, the refusal to give up. These were valuable traits in dangerous space, but not everyone was happy about the changes. Some species felt threatened. They had built their power on being seen as stronger than humans. Now that perception was crumbling. Pirates who had been targeting human ships suddenly found themselves facing Korthan warships. Throck had made it clear that humans were under Korthan protection. Anyone who harmed a human would answer to the Korthan Empire. 1 week after the incident on the Star of Ondor, Day stood in the same negotiation room where he had been laughed at. But this time, Bractum stood when he entered. Kang Day, the Valkyrie said respectfully. Thank you for meeting with me. I know I do not deserve your time, but I wanted to apologize personally. I judge you and your species based on appearance. I was wrong. Yes, you were, Day said simply. Bractum bowed his massive head. I would like to make amends. I am offering you a permanent position as head of human cargo operations for our entire company. You would choose which contracts to accept. You would train other human pilots. The pay would be substantial. It was everything Day had wanted a week ago. Financial security, respect, a real position in the galactic economy. I need to think about it, Day said. Later, on the observation deck, Day stood looking out at the stars. Sora found him there. Thinking about Bractum's offer? She asked. Thinking about everything, Day said. A week ago, I was a nobody. Now I'm famous. But I don't feel different. I'm still just me. That's good, Sora said. Stay you. Because what impressed Throck wasn't that you were superhuman. It was that you were human. You did what humans do. You adapted. You persisted. You refused to give up even when giving up made sense. Is that really so special? They asked. Sora smiled. Most species have built-in limits. When something is too dangerous, their instincts tell them to stop, to retreat, to accept defeat. Humans are different. We have that little voice that says, try one more time. That's what makes us dangerous. We don't know when to quit. The Korthan want me to visit their homeworld, they said. Throck says there are things we need to discuss. Things about humanity's future role in the galaxy. Are you going to go? They thought about the fight on the Star of Ondor, about standing beside Throck and the Korthan warriors, about how natural it had felt to fight alongside them, like he had found something he didn't know he was missing. Yeah, he said. I think I am. Korthan Prime was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. The planet had gravity 20% higher than Earth's, but they adjusted quickly. The sky was dark red from atmospheric dust. Mountains rose like jagged teeth on the horizon. Everything about the planet screamed danger. They loved it. Your homeworld reminds me of Earth, he told Throck as they walked through the capital city. Throck's laugh rumbled like distant thunder. Your people say this about everything. Sora said the same thing when she first arrived. The city was built from dark stone and metal. Buildings rose high but felt solid, permanent. Korthan citizens moved through the streets with that same predatory grace they had seen on Throck. Cubs played in the streets, wrestling and practicing hunting moves even in play. They reached the council hall, a massive structure carved from a single piece of black rock. Inside, the ceiling rose so high it disappeared into shadow. Seated in a semicircle were the members of the Korthan High Council. At the center sat Elder Matriarch Krell, the oldest and most respected warrior in the Empire. Krell studied Day for a long moment. Her scales were gray with age, scarred from countless battles. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of authority. So, this is the human who fights Skrull. One of them, Day said. There are billions of humans. Many would do what I did. That is what concerns us, Krell said, but not unkindly. For 300 cycles, the Korthan have been alone at the top of the galactic hierarchy. We are the apex. Other species respect this. Some fear it, but all acknowledge it. She leaned forward. Now you humans arrive. Small, unimpressive to look at. But you think like we think. Hunt like we hunt. You have the same fire in your spirit. Is that a problem? They asked. It is a question, Krell said. Are humans rivals? Or are they brothers? Throck stepped forward. I have fought beside this human. I have seen how his people respond to danger. They are not rivals, Matriarch. They are kin. Another council member, a scarred male named Vork, spoke up. Kin? We have fought for our position. What have humans fought for? They are young, untested. Earth's history says otherwise, said a new voice. A human man in military uniform entered the hall. He was older than Day, with gray in his hair and the bearing of a soldier. I am Admiral Omenho, commander of Earth's Third Fleet, and I bring greetings from Earth's government. Krell gestured for him to approach. Earth sends military commanders now? We are not at war, human. No, Minho agreed. But we believe in being prepared. The galaxy is not a safe place. He activated a holographic display. Elder Matriarch, you spoke of Earth's history. Let me show you. The display showed Earth's past, wars, thousands of years of humans fighting each other, fighting their environment, fighting extinction events, ice ages, volcanic eruptions, meteor impacts, disease, famine. Again and again, humans faced destruction. And again, they survived. "We are survivors," Minho said. "We have been tested by our own planet for millions of years. We have been tested by each other. We have scars, just like the Korthan. We simply wear them on the inside." Vork studied the images. "You war amongst yourselves?" "We did," Minho said. "For most of our history. We are not proud of it. But we learned from it. We learned how to fight, how to adapt, how to win even when victory seemed impossible." He closed the display. "The question is not whether humans are apex predators. We are. The question is whether we will be enemies or allies." The council chamber fell silent. Finally, Krell spoke. "Thrak, you believe these humans are kin?" "I do, Matriarch. I have seen their heart in battle. They do not surrender. They do not break. They fight until they win or die. This is the Korthan way. This is also the human way." Krell nodded slowly. "Then let it be known. Humans are kin to the Korthan. We will stand together." The other council members voiced their agreement. They felt something shift in the room. A weight he had not realized he was carrying lifted slightly. Before they could celebrate, alarms blared throughout the city. Throk's communication device activated. He listened, his expression darkening. "Skrull attack," he said. "A colony world. New Haven. Both human and Korthan civilians are present." "How many?" Minho asked immediately. "Early reports suggest a swarm. Perhaps 100 Skrull. Maybe more." Day's blood ran cold. 100 of those creatures. On a colony with civilians? Response time? Minho demanded. "The nearest Korthan fleet can arrive in 6 hours. Your third fleet?" 8 hours, Minho said. "Too long." "Then we go now," Thrak said. "My personal ship carries a full battalion. We can be there in 4 hours." "I'm coming," Day said immediately. "As am I," Minho said. Krell stood. "Then go. Save our people." "Both our peoples." 4 hours later, they dropped out of faster-than-light travel near New Haven. The colony was small, only 5,000 residents. A mix of species with a significant human and Korthan population. The planet was green and peaceful, or it had been. Now smoke rose from several buildings. The distress signals were constant. Skrull landed 2 hours ago, Throk's tactical officer reported. They came from the dark side of the planet. We did not detect them until they attacked. Standard Skrull tactics, Minho said. Hit fast. Spread fear. Feed. They landed near the colony's main settlement. They stepped off the ship and immediately heard screams. The Skrull were everywhere. These were not just warriors. These were drones, workers, soldiers. A full hive. "Combat teams form up," Thrak roared. His battalion of Korthan warriors assembled instantly. 50 of the galaxy's best fighters. Minho's contingent was smaller. Only 20 human marines had been on his ship. But they moved with practiced efficiency, checking weapons and coordinating positions. A human woman ran toward them from the colony. She was young, with dirt on her face and fear in her eyes. "They're in the school. The children are in the school." "How many children?" They asked. 30. Maybe more. Both human and Korthan. They locked themselves in, but the Skrull are trying to break through. Thrak and Minho exchanged looks. "Split forces," Thrak said. "I will take the main force to push back the swarm. Minho, take your people to the school." "I need a small team," Minho said. "Fast and mobile. Larger forces will draw too many Skrull." "I'll go," they said. "You're not a soldier," Minho pointed out. "No," they agreed. "But I've fought Skrull before." I know how they move. Minho studied him for a moment, then nodded. 5 Marines. And he looked at the Korthan. I will send 3, Throck said. He selected 3 of his younger warriors. Protect the cubs. All of them. Human and Korthan alike. They moved through the colony at a run. Skrull were everywhere, attacking civilians, destroying buildings. But the small team moved too fast to be caught. When Skrull did attack, they were met with coordinated fire from humans and Korthan working together. The school was surrounded. At least 20 Skrull were clawing at the walls, trying to find a way in. Inside, they could hear children crying. No time for subtle, Minho said. We go loud and fast. Draw them away from the building. The attack was brutal and efficient. The humans used their rifles to take down Skrull at range. The Korthan used their strength to rip through any that got close. They moved between them, covering gaps, calling out warnings, coordinating their movements. They had learned from the Star of Ondor. Humans and Korthan fought differently, but their differences complemented each other. Humans thought 3 steps ahead. Korthan hit hard in the present moment. Together, they were devastating. They cleared the school entrance and got inside. The children were huddled in a classroom. Human children and Korthan cubs together, protected by a single human teacher named Chonari, who held a chair like a weapon. It's okay, they said. We're here. You're safe. But they were not safe yet. More Skrull were coming, drawn by the sounds of fighting. We need to move them, Minho said. Get them to the ship. No time, one of the Korthan warriors said. Too many Skrull between here and there. Then we hold here, they said. He looked at Nari. Is there another way out? A back exit? Service tunnel, Nari said. It comes out near the medical center. That's closer to where Throck is fighting, they said. We can get them there. They moved through the tunnel, children and cubs staying quiet despite their fear. Behind them, the sounds of battle grew louder. Throg's forces were pushing the swarm back. They emerged near the medical center. Throck saw them and immediately sent warriors to protect them. The children were rushed to the safety of the ships. They stood beside Minho, watching as the last Skrull were hunted down and eliminated. The colony was saved, but the cost had been high. Buildings destroyed. Lives lost. Throck approached, his armor scorched and dented. The cubs? All safe, they said. Yours and ours. Throck placed a massive hand on Day's shoulder. You know what this means? What we did here today. We saved lives, they said. No, little brother. We proved something. Throck looked at the human Marines and Korthan warriors working together to help survivors. We proved that together, we are stronger than apart. Humans and Korthan. Different species, but one people. Later, after the immediate crisis was handled, they stood with Throck, Minho, and Sora on a hill overlooking the colony. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of purple and orange. What happens now? They asked. Now? Minho said. Now Earth and the Korthan Empire formalize an alliance. Trade, defense, cultural exchange. We become partners.